Einstein. Right, so I got Albert Einstein, who was responsible for the atom bomb. So you already know I'm gonna find a bunch of random excuses to throw in a bunch of explosions. Albert Einstein was born in the Kingdom of Württemberg on March 14th, 1879, which is right here. There are no images of the place, and there are no It's a beautiful place, it really is. But, you know, there are no images on Google, so, like, how would I know? His parents were Hermann Einstein, who was a salesman and an engineer, and Pauline Koch, who owned a failed business. Later in 1880, they moved to Munich, which I know for a fact is beautiful because there are actually images of the place. That is where Einstein's life had officially started. The Einsteins were Ashkenazi Jews, but he attended a Catholic school in Munich at the time. Now, people think Einstein did really bad in school, and that's just an excuse to make them feel better, because they suck at math. But in fact, Einstein was a mathematical prodigy at a young age. He excelled all his peers, and even his tutors said that he couldn't keep up. I mean, the man mastered calculus at the age of 14. I'm 17 and I still make mistakes at basic math. Then cut forward a few years to 1895, at the age of 16, Einstein took the entrance examination for the Swiss Federal Polytechnic of Zurich. And we can probably guess what the results were, right? No, he failed. Alright, so we're powering through this list pretty quickly. So that's biographical info, check. Science stuff and what he's known for. Oh boy. Okay, so basically at the beginning of his career, Einstein thought that Newtonian mechanics was no longer enough to reconcile with the laws of classical mechanics with the laws of electromagnetic fields. This led him to develop his special theory of relativity during the time at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern, Switzerland. However, he realized that the principle of relativity could also be extended to gravitational fields, and he published a paper from General Relativity in 1916 with his theory of gravitation. He continued to deal with these problems of statistical mechanics and quantum theory, which led to his explanations of particle theory and motion of molecules. He also investigated the thermal properties of light with the foundation of the photon theory of light in 1917. He applied the general theory of relativity to model the structure of the entire universe. Here's where it gets really complicated. Einstein's first paper submitted in 1900s to Annalen der Physik was on capillary attraction. It was published in 1901 with the title Follow den as in Kapillartütschenugen, I think, which translates to Conclusions of the Capillary Phenomena. Two papers he published in 1902 and 1903 on thermodynamics attempted to interpret atomic phenomena from a statistical point of view. These papers were a foundation for the 1905 paper on Brownian motion, which showed that Brownian movement can be constructed as evidence that molecules exist. His research in 1903 and 1904 was mainly concerned with the effect of finite atomic size on diffusion phenomena. Then after he proceeded to submit even more papers ranging from the theory of critical opacitance to special relativity, you know, Einstein's zur Eclodynamik, but that I don't speak German, don't ask me, which translates to on electrodynamics of the moving blades. This paper predicted that when measured with the frame of relativity, This paper predicted that when measured in the frame of a relatively moving observer, a clock carried by a moving body would appear to slow down, and the body itself would contract in its direction of motion. This paper argued that the idea of luminiferous aether, one of the leading theoretical entities in physics at the time, was superfluous. In his paper on mass-energy equivalence, Einstein produced the E equals mc squared as a consequence of his special relativity equations. He also submitted general relativity and the equivalence principle, gravitational waves, how argument and integral theory, the physical cosmology, energy momentum pseudotensor, wormholes, Einstein's Cartan theory, equations of motion, photons and energy quanta, quantized atomic vibrations, adiabatic, a whole bunch of other stuff, which will take me until the end of my retirement to finish talking about. Later in his career, he went to America in 1933, after which he knew he couldn't return to Germany because of the rise of the Nazis. You know, because he was Jewish. And then him and a few other scientists got word that the Nazis were making an atomic bomb, so they told him the American government, which initiated the Manhattan Project, which was essentially a race to who could make the atomic bomb first. Atomic bomb? Japan. They split the uranium atom. The energy released when splitting or fission occurs is tremendous, enough to power a bomb, but before such a weapon could be built, numerous technical problems had to be overcome. Well, on April 30th, 1945, Hitler's reign ended, and due to that, he committed suicide. Wait, no, that's not right. April 30th, 1945, Hitler's reign ended due to the fact that he committed suicide. You know, like that. And they celebrated with fireworks on July 16, 1945. And by fireworks, I mean they tested the new atomic bomb at the Trinity site near the Alamogordo, New Mexico. Oh, nice. We pretty much got through everything during the... Yeah, we're just gonna cross that one out. Now, how do we use their work in everyday life? I don't know. Ask him. Yeah, Einstein died in April 1955 from an abdominal aortic aneurysm. He had requested that his body be cremated, but in the bizarre incident, Princeton pathologist Thomas Harvey removed his famous brain during the autopsy and kept it in hope of unlocking the secrets of his genius. Yeah, his brain is now in Motors Museum, Philadelphia, in the US of A. Anyway, back to the point. How do we use his work in everyday life? We don't. Mechanics, engineers, physicists, and many other professions use his theories. Most airplanes and technologies won't even exist today without his genius. His theories are used in almost everything today, so much so it would take a lot of time to say each and everything that was involved. And how does their work relate to TOK? Well, Einstein questioned the very essence of reality, to which led him to research and ask more questions that challenged the logic and society's fundamental facts that we were all once built upon. He developed the one area of knowledge that we can always trust. Right? Natural sciences that we use today so we can develop our society and advance technology to the point where we can go back 3 centuries and argue that the earth is flat. The ways of knowing that replies to what he knew. Perception, because he did the thing where he perceived everything. Memory, because that is obvious. Reason and logic. And now we have reached our conclusion. Now, Einstein was a leading physicist and a mathematician. His contributions to society even led him to win a Nobel Prize, and his ideology moved society from what it was back then to what it is now. We were able to go to the moon and explore space, and with the thousands upon thousands of telescopes and man-made satellites in space. Thanks for watching, even though you didn't have a choice. And now, if you'll excuse me, I have to break the laws of physics. I expected something to happen.
Tell me, doctor, where are we going this time? Is this the 50s?
Age of 16, Einstein took the entrance exam. Cut forward a few years to 1895. His parents were Hermann Einstein, and who was a saleswoman. 95. At the age of 16, Albert Einstein took the entrance exam. I can't speak English. Forward a few years to 1895, and at the age of 16, Einstein took the entrance exam.